The sun was shining bright over the white sands of Miami Beach, Florida. Palm trees swayed gently in the breeze as waves crashed softly against the shore. It was a dream come true for newlyweds Ethan and Lila Carter. Ethan, 32, was a successful real estate broker from Chicago. Tall, handsome, with a charming smile and a confident walk, he had everything going for him. Lila, 29, was radiant, graceful, intelligent, and full of life. She had recently transitioned, and her beauty wasn't just skin deep, it came from confidence and self-acceptance. They met at a charity gala 6 months earlier. It was love at first sight. Their connection was instant. Within weeks, they were inseparable. They moved in together after only a month, and 2 months later, they tied the knot in a small, private ceremony surrounded by close friends. Then came the honeymoon, a week-long luxury stay at the Ocean View Resort on Miami Beach. The resort was elegant, with oceanfront suites, fine dining, and breathtaking views. On their first night, they dined under the stars, toasted to their future, and danced barefoot in the sand. Everyone who saw them said they looked like a fairy tale couple, happy, deeply in love, and destined for forever. But behind the smiles and laughter, something darker lingered. Lila had secrets, not about her past, which she had been honest about, but something else entirely, something that even Ethan didn't know. The next morning, housekeeping found Ethan's body floating in the infinity pool outside their suite. He was dead. His eyes were wide open, his face frozen in horror. There was no sign of struggle, no visible wounds, just a man gone far too soon. Miami-Dade police responded quickly. Detectives on the scene ruled out suicide. The coroner suspected foul play. But how? In paradise? That's when Captain Marcus Hale stepped in. A seasoned investigator with over 25 years on the force, Hale was known for solving the unsolvable. Grizzled, sharp-eyed, and relentless, he'd seen it all, from serial killers to cold-blooded con artists. But nothing could have prepared him for this case. As he walked through the crime scene, taking in every detail, Hale knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just a murder. It was a setup, and someone went to great lengths to make it look perfect. Now he had to find out why, and who was really behind the death of Ethan Carter. Captain Marcus Hale stood in the resort suite, eyes scanning every inch of the room. The walls were lined with beige wallpaper, the furniture elegant but impersonal. Lila was gone, taken into custody for questioning after being found sobbing near the pool. Hale didn't jump to conclusions. He never did. His instincts told him this wasn't as simple as it looked. There were too many inconsistencies in her story, and too much silence from those who had seen the couple up close. He started with Lila's background. Born Lucas Jameson in Dallas, Texas, she had legally changed her name 2 years ago. Public records showed a history of gender transition therapy, surgeries, and counseling, all documented and above board. She worked as a freelance graphic designer, lived alone in a modest apartment in Chicago, and had no criminal record. But Hale knew that clean records don't always tell the whole story. He dug deeper. What he found surprised even him. Lila had once been engaged to a man named Daniel Reyes 5 years prior. That relationship ended abruptly when Daniel disappeared during a hiking trip in Colorado. No body was ever found. Police closed the case as a probable accident, citing unstable terrain and lack of evidence. Hale made a note. Then there was the financial angle. Ethan had signed a prenuptial agreement, but just days before the wedding, he amended his will. It left everything, his real estate holdings, bank accounts, and life insurance policy totaling $1.8 million. To Lila. That was motive. But Hale needed more than motive. He needed opportunity, means, and proof. He requested security footage from the resort. The cameras outside the pool area were disabled between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. the night of the murder, a gap that didn't happen by chance. The staff said Ethan had ordered a late-night drink service around midnight. Room service logs confirmed it. A bottle of white wine and 2 glasses were delivered. Only 1 glass was returned to housekeeping. Something was off. Then came the toxicology report. Ethan had traces of a powerful sedative in his system, flunitrazepam, better known as Rohypnol. Commonly used as a date rape drug, it could cause disorientation, memory loss, and unconsciousness. In high doses, especially mixed with alcohol, it could be fatal. So someone drugged him. And then? Hale believed Ethan hadn't drowned. He'd been placed in the pool after death. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was calculated. Back at the station, Hale reviewed Lila's phone records. Most calls were routine. Friends, family, business contacts. But one number caught his attention. It appeared repeatedly in the weeks leading up to the wedding and vanished afterward. It was unregistered. A burner phone. Someone else was involved. Lila wasn't acting alone. Hale now had a new suspect, one hidden in the shadows. He sat across from Lila in the interrogation room. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but her posture was controlled. She answered questions calmly, almost rehearsed. "I loved Ethan," she whispered. "I would never hurt him." Hale leaned forward. "Then tell me about Daniel Reyes." Her face paled. She didn't answer right away. Finally, she said, "That was a long time ago." Hale pressed on. "Tell me what happened." Lila hesitated. Then slowly she began to speak. Daniel had been her first serious relationship after transitioning. They were happy, at first, but he became controlling, jealous. When she wanted to end things, he threatened her, said he'd ruin her life, said no one would believe a freak like her. One day he was gone. She insisted she had nothing to do with it, but Hale saw something in her voice, an edge of fear, not guilt. He wasn't convinced. And then there was the question of the second person, the one who used the burner phone. Who was helping Lila? And why? As Hale walked out of the interrogation room, he felt certain of one thing. This case was far from over. There was another player in the game, and they were still out there. Captain Hale didn't sleep much that night. Back at his office, he pored over Daniel Reyes' file. The missing man had been 34 when he vanished during a solo hike in the Rocky Mountains. He and Lila, then still Lucas, had been together for 2 years. Their relationship was intense, passionate, and according to friends and family interviews Hale dug up, volatile. Daniel was described as charming but possessive. A personal trainer with a history of anger issues, he'd reportedly struggled with Lila's transition, despite being supportive at first. Some mutual friends recalled arguments between them about her changing her name, using different pronouns, and how people saw her. He used to say she was confused, said one friend, who asked not to be named. He wanted her to stay the same person he fell in love with. Hale leaned back in his chair. This wasn't just jealousy, it was obsession. The original police report on Daniel's disappearance was thin. No witnesses, no body, no evidence. Just a hiking trail that led to a steep cliff in a storm that night. But something gnawed at Hale. It was too clean, too easy to believe. He reached out to the Colorado Sheriff's Department and requested access to the original crime scene photos and any unsolved missing persons reports from around that time. What came back surprised him. Another woman had gone missing 6 months earlier in the same area. Samantha Cole, age 28. She was also dating a man named Daniel Reyes. Wait, same name? Hale cross-checked the information. Samantha had been in therapy for anxiety and depression. Her therapist noted in session notes that Samantha feared her boyfriend was controlling and manipulative. She had tried to break up with him weeks before she vanished. Her car was found near the same trailhead where Daniel disappeared. No connection had ever been made between the two cases. Until now. Hale printed everything and pinned it to his board. 2 disappearances. Same man involved. One in Chicago, one in Colorado. And both women were connected to Lila. That wasn't coincidence. It was a pattern. Hale called in a favor with a federal agent specializing in missing persons and domestic abuse cases. Within hours, he had a lead. Daniel Reyes had a criminal record under a different alias, David Rourke. Assault charges in Nevada, harassment in California. Always dropped or dismissed due to lack of evidence or missing victims. Lila hadn't told anyone the full truth. Daniel wasn't just an ex, he was an abuser. And he was dangerous. But there was more. Hale discovered that Lila had been part of a secret online support group for trans women who had survived abuse. The forum was private, password protected, and hosted on a dark web mirror site. He got access through Cybercrime Division and found chilling messages. In one thread, someone using the username *Phoenix Rise wrote, "I'm safe now, but he's still out there. He said if I left him, no one would believe me. that I'd be nothing but a joke. Maybe he was right. Maybe I'm invisible. The post was dated 5 months before Ethan's death. Hale felt a chill. Was this Lila? He ran a digital fingerprint analysis on the post. It matched her IP address history. Yes, she had written it. Then another message caught his eye, from a user named Nightshade. You're not alone. We've all seen what he does. He hides behind lies, behind charm. But he's a monster, and monsters don't stop until someone stops them. Who was Nightshade? Hale couldn't trace the account, but he did find something else. A second user, Vigil, had messaged Phoenix Rise privately several times. The conversation logs were encrypted, but Hale's tech team decrypted a portion. It read, Swire Vigil. You can't run forever. He'll find you again. Phoenix Rise. I know I'm getting married, starting over. Vigil. Then he dies. Hale stared at the screen. This wasn't just a victim reaching out for help. This was a plan, a plot, and someone, possibly Vigil, was helping her carry it out. Now Hale had two suspects, Lila and whoever was behind the alias Vigil. He needed to find them both. As he gathered his notes, his phone rang. It was the coroner. We may have missed something, she said. There were traces of a rare plant compound in Ethan's lungs, something not native to Florida. What kind? Hale asked. Aconite, she replied, also known as wolf's bane. Extremely toxic, can cause paralysis and respiratory failure. Often used in old poisons. Hale's stomach turned. Ethan hadn't just been drugged, he'd been poisoned, and then placed in the pool to make it look like drowning. This wasn't just murder, it was execution. Someone knew exactly what they were doing, and Hale was certain of one thing now. Lila wasn't acting alone. Someone helped her. Someone with knowledge of poisons. Someone who might still be watching. Captain Hale stared at the coroner's report like it was a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. Aconite, wolf's bane, wasn't something you found in your average medicine cabinet. It was rare, toxic, and hard to obtain without connections. Someone had gone out of their way to get it, and someone had used it. He needed to find Vigil. The name echoed in his mind as he pored over everything related to the online forum Phoenix Rise had belonged to. He pulled up every post, message, and interaction from that account. Vigil had only messaged Phoenix Rise directly a handful of times, but those few messages were chilling. Vigil. You can't let him hurt anyone else. Phoenix Rise. I won't, but I need help. Vigil. I'll make sure he never hurts another woman again. Hale printed the conversation and circled the last line. This wasn't just moral support. This was a promise. He requested digital tracking on the Vigil account. His tech team worked overnight and came back with something surprising. The IP address linked to Vigil had bounced through multiple servers, but one trace led to a public library in Chicago. The logs showed activity from that computer 3 weeks before Ethan's death. Hale flew to Chicago. At the library, he met with staff and reviewed security footage. There, sitting alone at a terminal, was a woman. She wore sunglasses indoors and kept her head down. Her hands moved quickly across the keyboard. She stayed for about 20 minutes and left without speaking to anyone. The video was grainy, but Hale saw enough. She was in her early 30s, slender, with short brown hair tucked under a baseball cap. Her clothes were plain, jeans, hoodie, sneakers, nothing to draw attention. But she had helped plan a murder. Hale took the footage back to Miami and ran facial recognition. No matches in any criminal databases. Not yet. Then came another break. A local florist near Lila's old apartment remembered delivering flowers to her home the week before the wedding. The card read, "Stay strong. You're not alone. V." Hale leaned forward. You remember who paid for them? The florist nodded. Yes, a woman. Same person who called ahead. Said she was an old friend. He asked for the payment method. It was cash. Still, there was a partial license plate captured by the store's security camera when the woman parked outside. Hale got a match within hours. The car was registered to a woman named Marisa Duval, age 34. A quick background check revealed she was a former nurse turned holistic wellness coach. She'd worked at a hospital in Chicago until 2 years ago, when she abruptly quit after being investigated for stealing controlled substances. Not a smoking gun, but close. Hale dug deeper. Marissa had a sister, Olivia Duvall, who had died in a domestic violence incident 5 years earlier. The man charged? Daniel Reyes. The same Daniel Reyes who dated Lila. The same Daniel Reyes who vanished during that hiking trip. Hale felt the pieces click into place. Marissa wasn't just helping Lila. She was avenging her sister. This wasn't just revenge, it was justice in their eyes. Hale issued a warrant for Marissa's arrest and dispatched officers to her last known address. But when they arrived, the house was empty. Clothes missing, computer gone, signs of a rushed departure. She knew they were coming. Back at the station, Hale reviewed Ethan's autopsy again. The sedative, the poison, the placement of the body, it all pointed to precision. Someone with medical knowledge, someone who understood how to manipulate symptoms. Marissa had worked in emergency care. She would know how long it would take for aconite to act, how to mask its effects under the influence of alcohol and rohypnol. Lila may have been the face of the crime, but Marissa was the hand behind the knife. Now Hale had to find her before she disappeared for good. He set up a task force to track her movements, surveillance cameras, credit card use, phone pings, all monitored. And then, late that night, his phone rang. It was the lead detective on the case. "We found her," he said. "Or at least, we think we did." Hale sat up straight. "Where?" "New Orleans. Hotel under a fake name. Room 217. Hale grabbed his coat. "I'm on my way." New Orleans was a city of secrets. Its narrow streets, foggy lamplights, and jazz echoing through Bourbon Street made it the perfect place to disappear. For someone like Marissa Duvall, it was more than just a getaway. It was a hideout. Captain Marcus Hale arrived late that night with two plainclothes officers from the New Orleans Police Department. They met briefly at a nearby precinct before heading to the hotel, an old boutique inn tucked between antique shops and voodoo parlors in the French Quarter. Room 217 had been booked under the name Amanda Green, paid for in cash with no ID presented. Hale wasn't surprised. "This is how she moves," he muttered. "Ghost-like." The team moved quickly. Surveillance showed Marissa entering the hotel around 9:30 p.m. and not leaving since. Cameras captured her face clearly. Same short brown hair, same hoodie, same cautious walk. They had her. Now came the hard part, getting her to talk. Hale led the entry team. At 4 a.m., they knocked twice, announced their presence, and broke down the door with a battering ram. Inside, the room was dark, curtains drawn tight. The scent of burnt sage lingered in the air. A suitcase sat half-packed on the bed. But the room was empty. She had known they were coming. "We've got a back exit?" Hale asked. One officer nodded. "Service stairwell, leads into an alley." They rushed out, flashlights cutting through the darkness. No sign of her in the alley, but footprints in the wet pavement headed toward the river. "She can't be far," Hale said. They split up. One unit took the street. Hale and his partner searched the waterfront. 15 minutes later, a voice called out over the radio. "She's trying to board a cargo ship." Hale sprinted toward the docks. There, under flickering warehouse lights, he saw her. Marissa, hood pulled low, trying to climb aboard a freighter bound for Mobile, Alabama. She hesitated only a second when she saw the approaching officers. Then she ran. Hale gave chase. The dock was slick from recent rain. Containers towered like monoliths. Every sound echoed across the water. Marissa slipped once, caught herself, kept going. Hale pushed harder. "Stop!" he shouted. "It's over!" She turned suddenly, reaching into her jacket. Hale drew his weapon instinctively, but instead of a gun, she pulled out a small notebook and flung it into the air. It landed in a puddle near Hale's feet. He didn't stop moving. He tackled her. She fought, elbows flying, knees thrusting, but Hale held firm until backup arrived. Within seconds, she was cuffed and hauled to her feet. Breathing heavily, Hale picked up the notebook. It was soaked, pages fluttering in the wind. Inside were names, dates, photos, handwritten notes, detailed plans. This was the real evidence, the truth behind Ethan Carter's death. Back at the NOPD station, Hale dried the pages and spread them out on a table. The handwriting was neat, precise. Lila's name appeared often. So did Daniel Reyes, underlined in red ink. Final phase, Miami. Next to it, Ethan drinks. He falls asleep. Then the injection, pool placement, alibi set. Hale's stomach twisted. This wasn't just planning. This was execution. Marissa had done more than help Lila. She'd orchestrated the whole thing. Hale entered the interrogation room alone. Marissa sat quietly, wrists cuffed, eyes cold. "You don't understand," she said without looking up. "He deserved it." Hale slid the notebook across the table. "Who?" She lifted her head. "Daniel Reyes." Hale leaned forward. "What about him?" "He killed my sister," she spat. "And he would have killed Lila next." Hale crossed his arms. "You think this makes you heroes?" "No," she whispered. "We knew what we were doing. We knew we might get caught. But we also knew no one else would stop him." Hale studied her. "So you became judge and jury?" "Yes." "And Ethan?" Marissa looked away. "He was collateral damage." Hale slammed the file shut. "He never hurt anyone." "He married her," she said softly, not knowing what she was running from, not knowing what we had to do to survive. Hale shook his head. "You poisoned an innocent man." Marissa finally looked him in the eye. "Innocent," she scoffed. "You still think innocence exists in a world that lets monsters like Daniel Reyes walk free?" Hale didn't answer, because deep down, he wasn't sure anymore. Captain Hale sat alone in the interrogation room, staring at Marisa Duval across the steel table. The fluorescent lights above buzzed softly. Outside, the early morning sky was turning from black to blue. He flipped through the notebook again. The pages told a story far more complex than he had imagined. There were entries dating back over 5 years, notes on Daniel Reyes' behavior, patterns of abuse, and the women he had targeted. Lila wasn't the first. She was just the last. Marissa's sister Olivia had been Daniel's second known victim, if you believe the official records. But according to these notes, she had been his fourth. Each entry detailed how he manipulated, isolated, and controlled his partners. How he used charm to lure them in, then fear to keep them. How he threatened their families, ruined their reputations, and even stalked them after they tried to leave. Then came Lila. Marissa wrote. She reached out first, said she was getting married, that she thought she could be safe now. I knew better. I told her Daniel wouldn't stop. He'd follow her, hunt her, kill her. Hale turned the page. We made a plan, not for revenge, for survival. If we didn't act, he would destroy her like he did the others. A chill ran down his spine. They weren't just plotting Ethan's death. They were trying to stop Daniel from ever returning. But how? That question led Hale to another section of the notebook, dated 3 months before the wedding. It contained a list of names, 5 in total. Lila's name was circled. Underneath it, Ethan Carter. Asset. Hale frowned. Asset? He dug deeper into the police database, cross-referencing every name listed. What he found made his blood run cold. All 5 people had some connection to Daniel Reyes. One was an old roommate who claimed Daniel once bragged about getting rid of problems. Another was a woman who filed a harassment report against him, then dropped it under pressure. And then there was Ethan. Hale pulled up Ethan's background again. Clean record, no arrests, just a real estate broker with a rising career. But then he checked Ethan's social media history, old posts, deleted messages, archived tweets. It all painted a different picture. Ethan had met Daniel Reyes, not once, but twice. In fact, they had gone hiking together. Hale stared at the screen. The dates matched up perfectly. Daniel had disappeared during one of those trips. Suddenly, everything clicked. Hale stormed into holding and demanded Lila be brought in for questioning immediately. Within the hour, both women sat across from him, one in each room. He started with Lila. Did Ethan know about Daniel? He asked. She hesitated. Yes, she whispered. I told him everything. And what did he say? He said he wanted to help me, that he loved me, that he'd protect me. Hale leaned forward. Did he know Daniel was alive? Her eyes widened. What? You heard me. Did Ethan know Daniel was still out there? Watching? Waiting? She shook her head. No, no, I never told him that. Hale stood. Because Ethan didn't think Daniel was dead. She froze. What are you saying? I'm saying your husband went on a hike with Daniel Reyes, and when he came back, Daniel never did. Silence filled the room. Then Lila whispered, You think Ethan killed him? Hale didn't answer. He walked into the other room. Marissa looked up. You figured it out, she said. Hale sat down. Tell me the truth. What really happened on that mountain? Marissa took a deep breath. We followed him, she said. Lila couldn't do it herself, so I helped her track him. We found out he was meeting someone. Ethan. She paused. They went hiking. We waited. When they came back, only Ethan did. Hale's stomach twisted. So you framed him? No, she said firmly. We protected him. We gave him a new life, a clean slate. We let him believe he was protecting her by staying silent, that he had done the right thing. Hale stared at her. You poisoned an innocent man because you thought he was a killer? No, she said. We poisoned him because he refused to tell us where Daniel's body was. Hale's hands clenched into fists. This wasn't justice. It was vengeance wrapped in self-righteousness. And he had just uncovered a truth far darker than he ever expected. Captain Marcus Hale sat alone in his office, the city lights of Miami flickering outside his window. The case file was open on his desk, thick with reports, statements, forensic evidence, and the chilling truth that had unraveled before him. Ethan Carter wasn't the innocent man he appeared to be. Daniel Reyes hadn't disappeared during a solo hike. He was lured by Ethan under the guise of friendship, then left behind on that mountain. But even that wasn't enough for Lila and Marissa. They wanted more than silence. They wanted revenge, and they got it. Hale read through the final lab report one last time. Aconite, injected directly into Ethan's bloodstream while he slept. The wine had been spiked with rohypnol to make sure he wouldn't wake up. Lila had done the honors. Marissa had provided the poison and the expertise. The body had been placed in the infinity pool to mimic an accidental drowning, masking the real cause of death. It was clean. Too clean. Hale had spent over 25 years chasing monsters. Now he wasn't sure what to call these two women. Victims, murderers, survivors. He picked up the phone and dialed the lead prosecutor assigned to the case. We need to talk, he said. There's something you need to know. An hour later, Hale sat across from Assistant District Attorney Karen Bell at the courthouse. She was young, ambitious, and known for her aggressive courtroom tactics. This is solid, she said, flipping through the evidence. We've got motive, means, and opportunity. Both of them are guilty. Hale nodded slowly. But there's more, he said. Ethan wasn't innocent. She frowned. What do you mean? He slid a folder across the table. Inside were Ethan's hiking logs, GPS data from his smartwatch, and the match between his DNA and traces found under Daniel Reyes' fingernails. Bell's eyes widened. You're telling me Ethan killed Daniel? No, Hale said. I'm telling you he didn't stop him from dying. She looked confused. Hale leaned forward. Ethan went on that hike with Daniel. He knew who he was. He knew what he'd done. And when Daniel fell, or jumped, or was pushed, he walked away, left him there, let nature finish the job. Bell closed the folder. So why kill him? She asked. Because Lila and Marissa wanted answers, Hale said. They wanted closure, but Ethan refused to tell them where Daniel's body was. They believed he was protecting himself, hiding the truth. So they decided to silence him permanently. Bell sighed. This complicates things. It does, Hale agreed. But here's the question. Do we prosecute them for murder, or do we recognize this as a tragic cycle of violence, one born from fear, trauma, and survival? Bell studied him. Are you saying you don't want to press charges? I'm saying the truth is complicated, Hale replied, and sometimes justice doesn't look like handcuffs and prison bars. She tapped her pen against the table. You're asking me to let killers walk free. No, he said. I'm asking you to consider whether they're really the monsters we think they are. Weeks passed. The headlines screamed. Tragic honeymoon ends in murder mystery. Widow and accomplice arrested in poisoning case. But the full story never made it to print. The prosecution offered a plea deal. Marissa Duval accepted 15 years for second-degree murder. Lila Carter took a lighter sentence, 7 years for voluntary manslaughter. Both admitted guilt. Neither showed regret. In court, Lila stood before the judge and spoke softly but firmly. "I loved Ethan," she said. "I truly did. But I lived in fear my whole life. Fear of being seen, of being hurt, of being erased. When I met him, I thought I could finally breathe. But the past kept knocking on my door. I couldn't let it in again." She paused. "He didn't deserve to die, but neither did I." The courtroom was silent. After the sentencing, Hale stood outside the courthouse, watching the sun set over the Atlantic. A reporter approached. "Captain Hale, how do you feel about the outcome?" He looked out at the horizon. "I feel like justice isn't always black and white," he said. "Sometimes it lives in the gray." Then he walked away. Behind him, the sea whispered secrets only the dead could hear. And somewhere, deep in the mountains of Colorado, a nameless grave remained untouched by time.